So this is how we're going to be discussing everything. First, we're going to be talking about all of the structures along the first rib. So all of those structures in this area here. Then we're going to be talking about all of those structures that are in the middle of the opening. Then we're going to be talking about all of the blood vessels, the nervous structures, and the lymphatics. And finally, the suprapleural membrane. So let's talk about those structures that are along the first rib. So first, let's talk about the rib. So we need to know all of the structures on the rib. So here we have the costal cartilage. And at the back, we have the head, the tubercle, the outer border of the rib, and the inner border of the rib. Also, we have two grooves. So we'll talk about what these grooves are. We have a small tubercle right over here. So now let's start talking about all of the structures. So remember all of these. We have the costal cartilage right over here. This is the costal cartilage. This is the head. This is the tubercle, the outer border, the inner border, and the two grooves. And here's another tubercle. So now let's get into detail about all of the structures. I'm going to erase all of these just so it doesn't confuse you. Starting from the posterior side, we first have, you can see yellow, blue, and red. So in yellow, we have the sympathetic chain. The next one is the posterior intercostal vein. And that red one over there is the superior intercostal artery. Then you can see there's these two nervous structures that are merging into one. So these are the ventral rami of C8 and T1, which pass on forward to turn into the lower trunk of the brachial plexus. Now, right after the ventral rami, as soon as the rib starts curving forwards, we can see that there are two muscle attachments. Now, blue usually refers to the insertion of a muscle, whereas red usually refers to the origin of a muscle. And you can see this in any anatomy textbook. They usually use the same color coding. So here, the first larger area, muscle attachment in blue, is the insertion point for the scalenus medius. And then we have on the outer border, the serratus anterior. This is the origin site. Now, as we pass the lower trunk of the brachial plexus, we can see that there is an inner border. And from the inner border towards the outer border, that groove that we see over here, this is the groove for the subclavian artery. And then we have this tubercle. This is the scalene tubercle for the scalenus anterior. And then we have another groove. This is a groove going from the outer border towards the inner border. Because remember, veins always travel towards the heart. So this is a groove for the subclavian vein. And finally, we have two more muscle attachments at the costal cartilage and at the attachment point where the costal cartilage meets the rib. We would call this the costochondral joint of the first rib. And then where we have the costochondral joint, there is one muscular attachment over there, which is the origin site of the subclavius muscle. And towards the outer border, we have an attachment for the costoclavicular ligament. There you have it. These are all of the structures along the first rib.